Hey, this is Christian Buckley, Microsoft Regional Director and Office Apps and Services MVP, and I'm interviewing today Magnus Matensson, also Director at Microsoft Azure MVP and the CEO of Loftysoft, on the topic of Azure Automation Ramp Up as part of the ESPC community. So Magnus, thanks so much for talking with me today.
My pleasure.
All right, let's jump right into it with question number one. Why do you need to ramp up with your automation in Azure?
Right. That is a valid question. What's the whole session about? The point is that people don't do this well. They go into the Azure portal and they deploy some things. It could be a VM or a database or a storage account or something. They manually fiddle around in the Azure portal. And that's nice, but it's not great. You want to ramp up on automation to attain that speed, that confidence and agility, so that you can deploy the same things over and over again via automation instead. You typically write your own template and then you deploy that over and over to your development environment, to your production, wherever you need it.
I know this is an area that there are vendors that are partners in the ecosystem that have gone and built some tools. There's one of our fellow RDs has built an automated solution around this. And I also noticed that one of my takeaways from Ignite was the Azure Auto Manage capability. So Microsoft is thinking about that too as a way to not necessarily just automate everything out of the box. Obviously, you've got to configure, you've got to make things that are unique to your needs. But the fact that to prompt people on doing this, like these templates.
Yeah. So if you have let's say that you have a larger group of applications, maybe multiple development teams, you'll definitely gain, you'll save time and effort by trying to make one solution that you can reuse across your organization in multiple departments, across that. I'm personally working now as the platform architect for an enterprise level. This is a national critical infrastructure in Denmark, and they have many teams, as you can imagine. And by spreading this across many teams, the shared knowledge. The point is that every new team or every new application can reach into those templates that we've already created and kind of reuse them rather than going through the motions in every team and learning about it manually.
Well, I think that's a great segue into kind of addressed parts of question number two already. But what are the benefits of automation in Azure?
Yeah, so I kind of touched upon it a little bit, right? The point is that you want to have confidence and agility. You want to gain the full momentum of being in the cloud, and with that you would like to be able to deploy just an environment for some testing. These are things that you maybe was difficult to do before the cloud, right? Because if you needed a new environment, that kind of meant you almost needed to buy another server. But in Azure, you can just boot up your web application or your database, make a copy of it, and deploy a new set of those to just try something out and then throw that away again. And for most of these resources in Azure, you only pay for the minutes that you use them. So typically you would be able to have your development environment and all your testing environments, your pre-production and your production environment, all basing out of the same templates that you fire off to every one of those environments. And you can remove the biggest obstacle to deployment that ever was, which is humans. We always mess things up, right? So make sure that you get a template which you can trust because you've deployed it so many times, and then you reuse that to quickly and easily be able to fire up new environments as you need them.
Yeah, the people being number one, and then as you said, the resource constraints of the hardware constraints of going and standing that up is it's great. One of the things that I love about digital, and think of it like from a camera. Is we're not waiting for the processing of film. We're not worried about, is this the shot I want to take with my last picture?
Exactly, that's all done.
Take as many as you want. That's what it's like in Azure as well, that you can throw these environments up, test them out, reconfigure that, try another scenario, and move very quickly.
Exactly. And and when you get really good, what you would typically do is that you would remove from Azure all of your testing environments and all of your development environments, even over the night, over the weekend for sure. So to make sure that you don't have, when nobody is maybe working with them, nobody's using them, why would they even be there in Azure? Why would they cost your company money over the weekend? It doesn't make sense. But you need to get into the motions of learning how to automate and how to auto deploy things to really get to that level where you can start optimizing away things that are just wasteful to you.
That's a great benefit of automation. Is that point is that it's not just going and standing these pieces up, is knowing when to take them back down and optimizing what you're spending. I know a lot of people early on in Azure's lifecycle would go and spin things up and were shocked by the sticker price of some of the pieces because they just weren't efficiently using those resources.
Yeah, and the challenge there is that you typically see over time that the Azure spend just keeps going up, and it's great if you get many new customers. Lovely, we all love new customers. That's beautiful. But if it's also at the same time the amount of waste keeps going up, that's going to start to compile and compound over the years, right? And becomes layers of crap that you're just paying for because you don't know how to automate them. And that's painful.
Well, you think of that too with like, with enterprise agreement, licensing, for example.
Yeah.
A lot of organizations would go back to time to renewal. This was a lesson that Microsoft learned. It's not enough selling that EA license and, hey, 10,000 seats. If only 2,000 of those seats are actually being utilized, I mean, the client will be happier if they know that they're optimized against those services. So if you're a provider and while yes, you might be as the partner making less money off of the consumption of that service, a happier client stays around.
That's right. That's very important for Microsoft. And even though Azure may be endless to any one customer, the Azure resources in the data centers are in fact a finite resource for Microsoft, right? So they still need to, if they can pack more customers into the same hardware, that's still going to be a profit. Right. Still going to be good.
Right. They're more efficient usage of their own hardware. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah. So there we go.
All right. So question number 3. With Microsoft Ignite 2020 behind us, what are some of the takeaways from the event that support automation and Azure?
So there is a new announcement. Maybe it wasn't so big as an announcement for Ignite as such, but for those who know automation, those who work in that space, there has been some concerns that ARM templates, as they are called, the little JSON artifacts that you get from, you can even export those from Azure, right? You have resources in Azure, you can say, oh, get me the template for this. Those little ARM templates are little files of JSON specification that specify exactly your environment. There's been some concern that these are a little bit daunting, a little bit difficult to learn. Of course, I've been there since the beginning with these, so I can handle them. But it seems to be a kind of a ramp up. How do I even get in there if I haven't done it before? And so what's happened in the industry is that there has come sort of an abstraction on top of these things to make it simpler for us. And that's been done by writing domain-specific languages on top of this to simplify. The most well-known one here, of course, the sort of the industry leader in this is Terraform. Terraform allows you to deploy your resources to virtually anywhere these days, right? You can go to the other clouds and you can do whatever you need. It's a higher level language, more focused and more simplified than writing JSON files. JSON syntax can be a little bit messy. It's very specific. If you get anything wrong, like just a quote sign wrong, you're screwed, right? It just doesn't work. So what Microsoft has recently done, or is doing right now, is building on, this is sort of for now, it's still just sort of in the laboratory, but it's out there as a preview you can take part of. They're writing a language called Bicep. And Bicep is another DSL. It's a domain-specific language, which in fact is what's known as a transpiler. You type a little bit of thing in Bicep. It's like a little language. You almost declaratively say, these are the things that I want. And then you transpile that using the Bicep transpiler into the ARM template JSON file. So you don't have to write the JSON file specifically with all that specification and all that detail. You just write exactly, declaratively almost, this is the stuff I want. And out comes the JSON on the other end. It's pretty cool.
I like the naming too. I mean, so sometimes there's like randomness. I mean,
I don't even know.
About Bicep and with the ARM, and yeah,
I'm not sure that's even known where they came up with Bicep. I don't even know.
Yeah, it's funny that once in a while you see you got kind of give a puzzled look, like why did they name it that? And Microsoft with some of their naming failures, it's can be very entertaining at times. But that one I like. But well, really appreciate your time. This is fascinating stuff, and obviously. As part of the program committee, you've got your session going on, so we'll see more of you during the program here for ESPC 20. And for those that are watching, so enjoy the rest of the show.
Thanks.